Good afternoon, everybody out there in YouTube land. It's your buddy Choppadong with another episode of DFS Diary, brought to you by the one, the only DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy sports. If you already saw today's video, you saw box checkers for Week 16 released. You've seen our research station. I'm going to show you the NBA version of it now, and we're going to dive into the 10-game slate and talk a little bit of and one, a little bit of the projections and value and whatnot, how you can use those to identify decent plays tonight. Obviously, I'm not going to talk to you about winning GPPs, game theory, and all of that very often. That's not typically how I build my own lineups, and that's not what I'm designed to do. I am sponsored by DFSArmy.com. You can find them down there in the comments section, and you can become a VIP, unlock the tools, and unlock the coaching that explains the tools along with it anytime you want to by clicking that link using coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, and that's where we're going to do the teaching. That's where we're going to turn you into, or turn you on to the experts that can then take you to the next level. My job is just to kind of cut your player pool down a little bit and kind of show you why some of these plays are in decent position to succeed tonight. While you're down there, hit the like and subscribe button, ring the notification bell so that you get an alert on your phone when when I drop a new video. Or of course, you can always follow me out here on Twitter at dfsarmy.com, or at Choppadong, I should say. And my pinned tweet is running the January sweeps contest. I love all of the support, all of the retweets that I've been getting from you guys. Those guys all get entered into January sweeps, where I buy somebody's subscription to become a VIP inside DFSArmy.com. Don't care if you're a brand new member, don't care if you've always been a member. You help me spread the word, and I help you by entering you in a drawing to pay for one of your month's subscription. When it comes to the NBA Research Station, we can sort by positions, obviously. We can sort through the different games. We can sort by time slots. If you're wanting to end up with a smaller slate, you only want to play the 8 o'clock express slates or the late slates, 10 and 10:30, whatever, you can do that. You have the power and the control to do that inside manipulating this spreadsheet. What I am going to do is what I've been doing before, which is sort by the and one player pool. The and one's a catch-all rating system that obviously takes into consideration home and away splits, recent splits, historical matchup splits, etc., 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 as well as how they've been playing lately themselves, and DVP, things like that, and points to guys that are in great matchups. We have noticed that the magic number seems to be 11. Look at there's a break point in there. I don't know if that's coincidental or if that was put in there by one of our developers at that 11 spot to let you know that anything above that's in a very, very good matchup. So now that we've sorted by this, and we'll run through a little bit of consistency and a little bit of other stuff as we go, but while we're talking about point guards, we're going to look for depth of the position. I guess that break doesn't move with the players. Yeah, see, it's still down here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 point guards that have that great matchup. Now, that doesn't mean these are the guys that are going to win the slate. It means these guys are in good position. You still need to do your diligence in your research and determine how valuable Emmanuel Mudiay is versus, a Kemba Walker or somebody like that. You need to also do a little bit of research on Rajon Rondo if he's questionable. Mike Conley, if he's questionable. Are they upgraded to probable? Or are they downgraded to questionable? Are they going to play, not play? Those things all make a difference. And then here in the next couple of hours, you also need to take into account who their pivots would be, or who's going to get the work if they sit, and if that actually even matters. Because in some cases, it doesn't even matter. That guy's just a bad player anyway, and he's not going to do you a lot of good even at a minimum salary. Or in some cases, he's priced like a backup, and he's getting starter minutes and starter run, and he becomes a phenomenal value play on the slate, which actually causes you to rebuild most of your lineups. You never know what you're going to get in the NBA up to lock. It's a fun time of quick panic. But these are typically our players that we're going to focus on, these top 5 guys or so on bigger slates. So I'm not going to really put Conley in the mix yet. I'm just going to say Irving, Mudiay, Walker, Lillard, and Lonzo Ball. Of course, at cheaper prices, Lonzo Ball, Trae Young, Van Vliet are going to be. Now, I think I got tipped off earlier today that Van Vliet is somebody that we're going to like inside the Army quite a bit today. So we're going to have to dig in and research that one a little bit closer ourselves. Shooting guard, Drew Holiday has been a beast lately. Tim Hardaway Jr., Victor Oladipo, Donovan Mitchell, Kent Bazemore. I would probably stop at 5 there. And because I'm going to go back through and show you what I'm talking about, why I cut it off at about 5. Kicking over to the small forwards, LeBron James, Giannis, Kawhi, Rodney Hood, Bojan are the guys that we're going to be looking at in this regard. Just kind of powering through this list. This research doesn't take long. I'd recommend you get a little side piece of paper and you write these guys down. Anthony Davis, if he's not questionable, if he's upgraded to probable, if it looks like he's going to play, of course, is in a great spot. LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, John Collins, Jaren Jackson. I know a lot of people love Kevin Knox, Kyle Kuzma on some day. Their matchups are just maybe not quite as strong as these others. But if you can see here, power forward is a fairly deep position tonight with these double-digit scores. That means that we can look to probably pay down at the position. I'm not saying outright fade Anthony Davis, but I'm saying you might want to look to some of these guys for value as well. In the center spot, Vucevic, Drummond, Cantor, Gasol, and Karl Anthony Towns. And again, I'm yelling household names at you, but I'm just telling you they're in better positions than Rudy Gobert, Nurkic, and Cody Zeller, names like that that you also pay attention to. When we come back through the point guard, let's, instead of sorting by the and one, let's sort by value. Something I've been doing this week. It's had decent success. It's just another way of doing similar things. I sort by value and I take the top 5 of these guys. Van Vliet, Darren Collison, Emmanuel Mudiay, Derek White, Ricky Rubio. Look at that. We've got ourselves a little bit of a different list. We've got the top projected guys and we've got the top value guys at the position. That should be about all you need when it comes to putting together these lineups. Sometimes it's going to miss one. Trae Young didn't make either list. If you start seeing him being chirped around the industry, throw him in your player pool. There's nothing wrong with that. We can't be so rigid in what we do. I'm just showing you what I do and the way I go about it. That doesn't mean that if I don't start hearing Trae Young's name, peppered throughout the industry, that I'm just going to say, nope, he doesn't belong on my list. No, I'm going to put him on my list. I'm going to adjust my list. This is just the basic research that we start our day with, and this is the tool that I use to do it because it's the fastest, most efficient way for me to do so. And honestly, on a paycheck Friday like today, you've just gotten paid. Probably a good idea to jump in here, unlock it for yourself, and power through this thing tonight. Knock out, do exactly what I do, knock it down, write these guys down, and then turn around and run the slate tonight. And then you've got access for a month and you can learn how to use this thing. You can ask our coaches, you can ask me, what are the different, see the tutorial, whatever, how are the different ways to go about using this machine, because this thing has a lot more stats than I'm showing you, and it can tip you off to a lot more than I'm showing you. When I look at the value list again, I've got to resort that, I guess. I didn't use it for everybody. I got to go position by position. Okogie, drop score candidate on Fanduel. Tim Hardaway. Tim Hardaway hits both lists. That means he's probably pretty important. DeLon White, Luke Kennard, Kevin Huerter. These are guys that, again, are going to be cheap value type plays. Your job's to assess how much you think that value is important or not. Can DeMar DeRozan at just under that 4.8 is tied with these guys, but just under that top 5. I would include him in my list because DeMar DeRozan drives that San Antonio offense right now with LaMarcus Aldridge, and a lot of times he's very, very important. If he's in a positive matchup tonight, you're going to want to use him. And even though he's not on the list of top 5 projected or top, then maybe he was, I don't even remember, with a number like 39.4, I'd hope he was. I hope he was, but almost making the value list too is a little bit of an extra bump saying this guy's worth consideration, this guy's worth looking at. I mean, what's the tiebreaker here? Why 4.8 versus 4.8? Why isn't he number 5 on our list? You know what I mean? So again, it's nothing is a foolproof method. This is just a way to spot players and get you started in the right direction. These are the values, again, that I need to sort by. Dang, that one almost threw me off. James, Atanakupo, some of these other guys. Gordon Hayward, Mo Harkless, Batum, Carroll, and LeBron. LeBron number 5 again at a 4.7 value. Joe Harris, 4.7 value. These guys are guys that I'm going to be considering on my list tonight. Because when they hit the top 5 projections and they hit the top 5 value list, I put a little bitty star next to them. They're double important to me. It just makes sense to me that if a guy hits the value list and hits the top projections list, that's a very, very good position to be in. So sorting by descending for power forwards, we wind up with Rondae Hollis, I'm talking with my tongue. Rondae Hollis, Jefferson, Kurix, Vonleh, Knox, and Wendell Carter. We come down here to Wendell Carter. See how that kicked down to a 4.8? See, I might not use Larry Nance unless he all of a sudden gets some kind of a role change out there in Cleveland. Then he might get a bump a little bit later in another hour or two as news breaks. That's another thing. We've got a dedicated news coach inside DFS Army right now that is watching the news all day long, and his primary job is to sort through the news. If I actually show you just a smidge of that, I want to show you what you're missing. If you're not actually a VIP, if you're just a light member and just getting access to some of these tools, that's great. But what you're missing is, and this is NHL, what you're missing is some of these breakdowns. Look at this. This is just the Lakers. Out, game time, game time, game time, available, available, late night hammer game full of folks, blah, 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 blah. Usage numbers, fantasy. This is an article in and of itself that you don't have access to if you don't have VIP access. Didn't run the starters early. Elite plays. Secondary. Scenario number 2. If LeBron James is in and Chandler and Zubac are out. Now here's how the usage changes. Now here's who gets the bumps. And if this scenario happens, we'll see this guy. Elite plays would be these, and secondary plays would be these. You don't get better breakdowns than that right there. I don't care where you go or who you follow. You don't get a breakdown like that just anywhere inside the industry. That is going to make you a better player. Period. End of story. Thank you for watching this portion of the video, because to be honest with you, showing you that, man, if you don't sign up for VIP, I don't know when you're going to. Vucevic, Drummond, Cantor are the same guys that were up there, top 5 plays projected. That changes to Podol, Cantor, Nurkic, Zeller, and Drummond. Drummond hits the list twice. That's interesting to me. Drops from 5-0 to 4-7. That's interesting to me as well. Why the sharp drop-off? But either way, Drummond is that 5th guy. Well, along with these guys are supposedly tied. So you might throw Vucevic in there too. But these guys are strong value plays. They need to be on your list. What I would then do, if it's me, is I would then go to the domination station. I'll probably throw the computer for a loop here when I click on these buttons while they're trying to update themselves. But I would go to the domination station, load up the NBA slate, load up the main slate if that's the one I wanted to play. You saw there were 5 or 6 to choose from. And now what I'm going to do with the list that I wrote down is I'm going to go through and I'm going to uncheck most of these players that I've just determined are a little bit junky. Now I'm going to modify my list. Again, I'm going to say that again to be loud and clear. I'm going to modify that list. I'm going to follow some coaches, include some of their plays. I'm going to look at some of the news myself and include some of those plays. But largely, I'm going to go through here the point guards: Walker, Irving, Lillard. Conley, Fox was not on that list. Derrick Rose was not on that list for whatever reason. Lonzo Ball was on that list. Trae Young was going to probably be on my list. Emmanuel Mudiay, Van Vliet. These are guys that are going to be on my list. I can control this projection a little bit. If I don't believe that 30 is realistic for Van Vliet, I can drop him down 10% and bring his 5.8 down to a 5.2, which is a little bit more respectable. But he's still, judging by the value in these guys here, he's still going to be thrown into every lineup that I have. So I might come down even more. Now, he might deserve to be in every lineup that I have. But it also might be a little bit over projected for the slate. That might be very, very aggressive. I don't know. I'm going to run shooting guards. And of course, I'm doing this by memory at this point. DeRozan was definitely in there. Mitchell, Hardaway was in there. Russell, Bazemore, McCollum, Wiggins. Where's old Bojan? Evan Fournier, no. Brogdon, Smart, Clarkson, Bullock, Hoyter was in there. Whatever. However you pronounce his name, I apologize to the Hoyter family for offending them. Tony Snell, Shumpert, Okogie was in there. Okogie's number's a little bit low. Let's say I liked him as a drop score candidate tonight. I bump him up, and I'm going to pull more from him. And again, I don't even know if I'm going to stick with this. I'm just showing you the things that I typically do. LeBron, Kawhi. Let's say I wanted to be all in on LeBron. Of course, I could lock him if I wanted to, but I could also juice his projections. And I can even juice them manually. If I want him to be projected for 72 points, I can then do so. Okay? I'm going to put him at 55 for now. It just gets back about where it was. Kawhi, Covington, Ingram, Gordon, Jellica, Joe Ingles, Kyle Anderson, Isaac, there's Bojan. Oh, who else do we have floating around here? I think Rodney Hood was mentioned. Even if he wasn't, Mo Harkless is pulling at a 5. That's interesting. And you know what? I'm just remembering those were not top 5 projected. Those were top 5 and 1 scores tonight. So that's interesting. You can do that by points, by projected points, and you can sort completely by the projected points. John Collins was in there. LaMarcus Aldridge was in there. Cruising down, Larry Nance was almost on the list, but not. So I might leave him off this list and put Kuzma in there in his place. Jaren Jackson was mentioned. Vonleh, Thad Young, Marvin Williams, Rondé Hollis Jefferson. There's a cheaper play at 5.3. Let's say I don't like him quite so much. I'm going to drop him down just a touch. Oop, that's a little too much. Get him down to the 5 range. So he pulls in a little bit more often. Thesis really projected high tonight. I don't have to check him if I don't want him in there. Kurix was in there. He's at 5. Taj Gibson, Zach Collins, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Then we'll go through, pick a few centers, and I'll show you a quick sample of running some of these lineups to show you what I can do. Andre Drummond, Karl-Anthony Towns, Vucevic, Randall, Gobert, Gasol, Nurkic, Cauley Stein, Cantor, Dedmon, Jarrett Allen, Cody Zeller, Robert Williams III is a punt type play, a drop score candidate probably at 4,600. Dropping down even more, Okafor, Okay, so we've got a few expensive and a few cheaps. We've got a decent player pool, about 35 players at this point. I'll turn the all guys back on. I'm going to run what I call 10 and 5. 10 lineups, 5 unique players. I'm spreading way out. I'm forcing a ton of unique players in this lineup. I'm going to optimize it. Hopefully it lets me do it. I didn't cut that player pool down too low. It does not look like I did. I've got it projected at a 304 based on some of the juicing that I did with the little smiley faces, but I'm sorry, 304 is what DFS Army's projections would be straight up. By reducing some of those guys, I dropped it down to a 300. Moutier and Van Vliet, still loves Van Vliet. Moutier, Hardaway, Hoarder, LeBron James, Rodney Hood, Anthony Davis in there, Kurix, Robert Williams, punting that center to get Davis in there, no doubt. Lillard, Moutier, Hoarder, Okogie is my drop score here. Now, what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start sifting through this list, and I'm going to say 4,800 possible drop score, 4,100 definite drop score, Kurix, definite drop score. I don't want more than about 2 of these guys in my lineup. So I want to make sure that Williams is in a very, very good matchup. His track record points to about 25 points tonight because I don't want a third drop guy in there. I don't want Hoyter to end up being my drop score guy if I can avoid it. I don't mind a couple of them if I can get up to the big dogs. I'm going to check this lineup here. 48, borderline drop. Again, Okogie, definite drop. Rodney Hood, definite drop. Make sure that, okay, so there's really only about 2 guys in there. That's fine with me. Next thing I'm going to start checking, New York, New York. Okay, there's only 2 New Yorks. Toronto, only 1 Toronto. Atlanta. Sometimes you got to watch Atlanta when they're in good, decent matchups because it likes to throw in several of those guys. Doesn't look like I'm getting a ton of repeat teams on a night like tonight. You know, there's 2 New Yorks again. I'm okay with 2 guys off the same team, and that's what I'm getting to. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Brooklyn, if there was a third Brooklyn in here, here's what I would do. Let's pretend that I saw a third Brooklyn in this lineup here. The first thing I would do is I would go back up here to the team stacking options. I would say at most 2 players from Brooklyn. There they are. Add rule. And now it's got a rule on it. If I wanted to do the same thing from Detroit, add rule. Okay? And then I can rerun this optimizer again. And it's going to make sure that there's only 2. There's not a third guy. That keeps me overexposed, you know, from getting overexposed to Phoenix, from getting overexposed to Cleveland sometimes, to getting overexposed to honestly bad teams with cheap players on them that just because they're in a good matchup, I can still override the computer a little bit and say that's a little too risky for the way I want to play tonight. Another thing that I can do, I can come over here and I can only have players projected for 20 points. That's another way that I can avoid some of those drop score type candidates and keep some of those out of there. I can also, if I only want to build a few lineups, I can cut this back down to say 5 lineups. I can cut this down to say 3 uniques or 2 uniques if I want a tighter core and more guys I'm comfortable seeing in my lineups. And then I can come down here and I can say, okay, well, nobody in more than 75% of my lineups. So when I do that, I've got global exposure. Nobody's going to appear in those 5 lineups in more than 4. They're not even going to appear in 4 because that'd be 80%. I click optimize again, and now I'm going to get a whole different, see, only 4 teams can be generated because I put some parameters on there that are a little bit too tight for what the thing like. But it gave me 4 teams for an example for you. And now I can see how that changed. This main lineup didn't change. Based on my parameters and the restrictions I put on the tool, this is my optimal lineup tonight. But I can come down here and I can see, watch these numbers start to drop off a little bit and see, do I want more of the same players to keep that number up a little bit because I want to run 3 lineups tonight or whatever. I can start messing around. These are the things we can coach you how to use, coach you how to get better, more fluent with this tool inside DFSArmy.com. So hopefully you're getting a little bit of a little bit of fun, a little bit of insight into what we do inside DFSArmy.com. Again, the breakdowns that we show you, which are absolutely ridiculous, and some of the content that we produce out on a daily basis. And this is what is putting our Army hats at the tops of leaderboards. Hopefully you like this type of material. If you do, like and subscribe to the channel. Come inside, be a VIP. This is when it unlocks everything to you, and a dedicated staff with their own channels, their coaching channels designed to talk to you and help you build better lineups. That's what we do inside DFS. We make you a better player. We don't build your lineups for you. We make you a better player. Any of the sports that we offer, any of the times, any of the slates, anything that we're doing that we're also playing with you, we play along with you. We don't just sit back and do nothing. So that way we have our finger on the pulse of the industry and our finger on the pulse of the games and what it is that we're trying to do. And that's going to, again, help make you a better player. So jump inside today. Use coupon code CHOP, CHOP. Click that link in the description of the video. Ring the little notification bell. Make sure you get these updates as they drop. I'm going to come back. I'm going to show you our NHL Research Station again on a different video. So if you're playing hockey tonight, you're going to want to come back and tune into that. We'll do that one next. And you've already seen Box Checkers, the NFL version. So thanks again for following along. I'm going to dump both of these in the DFS Diary pinned tweet. Help me spread the January sweeps stuff out there, and I will buy somebody's membership next month in January and make them a VIP, whether they want to be a VIP or not. All right, guys. Take care. Happy Friday, and we will talk to you guys on the inside.